So yesterday we talked about the evolution of banking, and that was what the bell ringer was about, which you can type into Canvas chat. Hopefully you're able to complete some of the autos and homes activity. You're looking for 3 cars within each of those price ranges and then describe them in the text box once you click Start Assignment. And then you're finding 4 homes and doing the same, describing them in the text box. In the notes today, we'll cover modern banking. In the United States, in the modern banking system, we often refer to the money supply. And that is all money in the United States of America. The money that we look at the most is called M1. M1. Money that falls into the M1 category is said to have liquidity. And liquidity is spelled Liquidity. Liquidity. This is money that people can access and use immediately. So currency, checks, credit cards, these kinds of things you can use pretty fast. And the reason why it's said to have liquidity, because like liquid, the money can flow everywhere and pretty fast. And then there are other categories of money like M2, which includes money that can't be used quickly. Savings account used to fall into this category, but they're actually switching them over to M1 since, we obviously can use debit cards in that now. But money included in M2 also includes those that we can't use right away. There's actually a lot more categories than that, but for the purpose of this, I just wanted to segregate those two to show you that there's a difference between money that moves around quickly and those that don't. Yeah, any assets that you have locked up, anything like that, is also going to be something that has less liquidity. You put money in a CD in a bank, you have to pay a penalty and you have to go in and take the money out, so that also has less liquidity. But modern banks keep this money for us as we are savers. So the modern banking system manages this money by saving it for us and storing it. And of course, now it's protected by the FDIC. So even if something happens to the bank, up to a certain amount is protected. Savings accounts, checking accounts are typically ways that people save money, but there's another one, money market accounts, which have higher interest rates, but often limit the number of withdrawals. Then there's also certificates of deposit, or CDs. They also offer a slightly higher interest, but once again, the money is locked in. You have to pay a fee if you try to take it out sooner. So CDs, money is locked in, and the reward is interest. And then there are loans. We are savers, and throughout at least one point in our life, we're also going to be borrowers. Borrowing to buy a car, a house, build a business, expand it. So banks let borrowers take the money as long as they pay it back with interest. And how much do they give out? Well, it depends upon the reserve requirement. If the reserve requirement is 10%, it means they loan out 90% of their money. And that's most of the time. Most of the time, they loan out almost all their money. That's why they can't have everybody panic and come pull their money out, because they won't have it. They have loaned it out. Loans include things like mortgages, which is for property. Or things like credit cards, which are supposed to be for smaller transactions. And credit cards are a form of what we call revolving credit, because you can borrow against it, then pay it down, then borrow some more, pay it down, and so on. And then, of course, these borrowers end up paying back the loans, the principal, with interest. So maybe they borrowed $10,000 but end up paying back $10,150. The $150 is the interest they paid back. Those basically serve as revenue for the bank, and they can pay, of course, their employees and run their office buildings, distribute money to the owners, and also, of course, reward savers with some type of interest if they have the proper accounts. With any type of investment, even savings, it pays to keep money there longer, because at first you earn simple interest, but over the long run you also earn compound interest, because you earn interest on the original amount you saved and then the interest that you've gained since then. Some of those types of savings investments, though, aren't that lucrative. Savings accounts, for instance, if any of you have one, you know you don't make that much money off of them. But there are others that are more risky but return greater rewards. Then there are other types of financial institutions. Credit unions are organized for specific groups of people and usually have low interest loans. They're not the same as banks for a variety of reasons. Finance companies are another type of financial institution. They often are in the business of loaning to high-risk clients, which means they often have incredibly high interest rates, 20, 30, 40, 50% interest, maybe even more. And another type we often don't think of would be insurance companies. Insurance companies are the same way. They take money and they invest. They don't take all of your premiums for your car insurance and just put it in a lockbox for when you get into an accident. They actually take that money and they invest it. They also, like a bank, count on the fact that not everybody will be in a car accident on the same day, because they wouldn't be able to afford to make all the payouts. But of course, they are not, once again, the same as banks, and they have different regulations and restrictions they have to follow. For the remainder of the period, make sure you finish up the auto and homes activity. Make sure you found the 3 different cars in those price ranges and the 4 different cars, or 4 different homes in the price ranges. If you get done early, you can work on the reading. And then the quarter 4 finance assignment, where you're supposed to be finding your first long-term job and using the beginning salary to map out what your monthly expenses are.